So I'm going to be talking about 3 different chapters within this video. I'm going to talk about chapters 377 and 378 of Fairy Tail, as well as the Erza special, She's Erza. Now, starting off with the 2 chapters from the main story, had I just reviewed 377, if this was just me talking about 377 by itself, I would have said this was a great chapter. Like, it had action, plot progression, and overall development for the character Wendy. I thought that that was a stellar chapter, one of Hero's highlights, and it's just mind-boggling that a Wendy chapter took it to the next level. Like, a chapter circled around Wendy, which none of us really, for the most part, well, personally, me, I'm not a fan of her, is one of the standout chapters of this arc for me, period, because you see the character really progressed. She went into an epic fight at that, so, you know, you get a little bit of eye candy as far as a cool fight, and just overall, her taking out a TARDIS member in a way that makes sense. Like, overall, if it was just me talking about 377, great chapter. I can't wait for next week. But we got 378 as well. And 378, the main problem between, you know, if you look at both of the chapters, the only problem I will say is the ending of 378 is lackluster, anticlimactic, and it's just like, why would you fucking do this to me, Hero? Like, he actually, I can't even front for a split second, even though it was still in the back of my mind, that, yeah, this is probably not going to happen. He did have me going for a moment when he was showing those flashbacks of Wendy and Carla and how they were together and how they met and everything. And I was just like, is he really going to fucking kill off the Loli and the cat? Like, what? When does Hero do this shit? So he had me going for a slither of a second, only to find out that Doran Bolt showed up, teleported and teleported out. Makes sense in a way that Doran Bolt could do that, because we've seen he had teleporting powers and everything like that. But just as overall, it's like, why would you get me to that emotional state and build the readers up like, fuck, man, this could actually happen. And then you're going to pull the plug on us, and yeah, she got rescued at the last second. It's like, what was the need of that? At the very least, kill fucking Carla, kill a cat. You can't kill a main character, especially a little girl, fine, but kill the cat, kill something. You know, like, don't build that up, only to nothing happened except Face got destroyed. Because aside from that, aside from the ending, the chapters were really good. Wendy stood up, she developed, she had an epic fight, she defeated her opponent, we got plot progression, she even shattered Face. Actually, the cliffhanger from 377, it added even more value because she defeated the enemy, shattered Face, and it was still counting down. So it was kind of like, yo, this is great. This is great stuff. And then the following chapter, it was just, I guess 378 is really the problem. Because even there was certain aspects as well, I don't want to forget to mention, where Carla is pretty much like, I've seen multiple futures. And I found out, like, since when the fuck is Carla like this oracle that could see multiple futures? And found out, like, when does she have development for her psychic powers anyway? I'm like, what the fuck? Like, so 378, she's just like, oh, I see multiple futures, and I figured out how to do this now, and I gotta press this button, but it's gonna explode. There was 2 problems, actually, yeah. There was 2 problems for the most part. The ending, and just overall Carla having all these futures and figuring out the right one to pick or whatever, and seeing that there's no future. It was just like, there was no need to build it up if you weren't gonna do it. Like, for that matter, if you were gonna build all that up, just shatter Face from the get-go. Like, just do that. If you can't kill off a character or something like that. Don't build it up. Don't make me feel like there's a possibility. And don't make me feel a little bit like, damn, this is actually kind of sad. If you're going to pull the plug at the last minute and have Doran Bolt come in and save. Because other than that, it was some good stuff. It was great that Face actually continued to count down even after her triumphant victory over Ezel. It was just great stuff. And then it was an anticlimactic, lackluster, and just kind of a BS ending with her being saved at the very last second. It was like very cliche, I guess is the best way to put it. Cliche and anticlimactic of an ending. But as a whole, just development for Wendy yet again with chapter 377, because that was, I want to separate these 2 chapters, because in all honesty, 377 was a great chapter, and if that was just this week's chapter, I would have been like, Hero, you're on or something. This was great. 9 out of 10. The second chapter, 378, the beginning, it was just kind of us going back again to scene a little bit. It had a setup as well for, I believe it's Kyoka's helper, and now she's going to fight Lisana, so we have an extra fight built up, which I don't get why this late in the game. But, you know, it had a little bit of extra stuff in the beginning. We had a little bit of setups and whatnot, and a little bit of seeing just what's going on with the fights or whatever. They're still fighting or whatnot. And then it goes to the Carla stuff and Doran Bolt saving her, which I guess it ties in with Doran Bolt saving her and just being like this protective figure, I guess, or whatnot. So it made sense in that aspect for him to save her. But as a whole, it just shouldn't have been teased to begin with. I want to mention the art. I want to mention the art because I got to give credit where credit is due. 377, 378, beautiful art. Hiro Mashima went in with the art. It had a nice couple color pages. The art was stellar in these chapters. If anything, even that BS ending, at the very least, it had very nice art to it. It looked beautiful. He did a great job with the art. I'm also curious, so is Face indeed gone? Did they actually completely deactivate it? Or is there still a possible way for them to do Face? Because if not, then Tartarus, for the most part, is defeated in their goal with these two chapters. They're basically done. They're finished. Because if they, if Face is gone, and that was their main objective, get rid of magic all around, then their goal is pretty much defeated at this point. And it's also interesting when Carla was talking about, could we possibly live in this world without magic and, just continue to live and prosper or whatnot. And that's actually an interesting thing. Like, I would have liked, again, ideally for there to be an arc where they have to get the magic back and they have to survive. Like we had at Lost where they kind of couldn't use magic for a while or whatever, but it would have been very interesting for them to have to try to get magic back some way or another, and they would have struggled against these people and have to come out on top in different ways other than fighting. And as a whole, to be honest with you, 377 was a great chapter. 378, it was a good chapter up until the ending. Then it was just kind of like whatever at this point. It was kind of like it went from, this is actually really good stuff. Like I probably would have said as a whole, these two chapters combined is a 9 if it wasn't for that ending, because the ending just kind of knocked it down a couple of pegs. It didn't completely ruin it because it still served as character development, still served as plot progression, still served as getting rid of one of the main threats in a way that makes sense. I'd say the second chapter, I'm going to give it an average because it was good up until the ending, and then it kind of just went to shit, and it was just kind of like it took a lot of that, what you built up, and then just kind of like flushed it down the toilet. For the most part, there was still some stuff that is preserved or whatever. So 377, I give a 9 out of 10. 378, I give it maybe a 5.5 out of 10. It is average for the most part because the ending definitely kind of deteriorated. It didn't completely make it like this is terrible, this is garbage. And quickly I want to talk about She's Erza. That was actually one of the best specials out of all the specials I've read thus far. It was basically like Erza going into a little bar. She sees a person and it's kind of just like that fairy tale pride because that person was, faking being a fairy tale member and just being a dick about it. So that was some good stuff, definitely. Just showing all the best parts of Erza, and not only the fan service, because of course it was fan service heavy, because those specials is just like Hero doing whatever the hell he pleases. It was still like some of the best stuff, and it was just really a kick-ass chapter. Nothing to write home about or anything, but it was pretty dope. I like that as well. So that was some good stuff. Just wanted to briefly mention it, and it was just nice little chapter, whatever. If you want to check out a nice little fairy tale special out of all of them, that's the one probably I'd say check out the most. Let me know what you guys think. Were you pissed off with the ending of 378? What did you think about it? Did you think it was BS? Again, it made sense that Dorenbolt could do that, but it's just the overall point of Hero building it up that they're gonna die, or it's the end for one of them at the very least, and both of them get saved. It's kind of like it's BS at the end. But what do you think of that? What do you think of the character development from 377 and just the plot progression and everything? That Face really didn't get destroyed. Your overall thoughts on both of these chapters? I feel as though 377 very good, great stuff. 378 lackluster and disappointing at the very end. But that's all I have for this review. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Thumbs up if you can't wait to see the climax of this arc, because it seems as though it's approaching shortly. And it's interesting that Wendy, out of all of them, is the only one that had a proper fight, that she defeated her opponent in a very intellectual way. I really hope, at the very least, even if it's not all that bullshit that was pulled with Face, at the very least, the members of Fairy Tail can have a fight similar to Wendy's fight with Ezel, because that was the best fight, I will say, of the entire arc thus far. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.